What's going on, everyone? This is the greatest travel podcast in the universe, possibly. And we add in some sports, some pop culture, and some nonsense. But today, we are traveling to Peru, so I can tell you how to see Machu Picchu, one of the new 8 wonders in the world. They just added an eighth in Siem Reap, Cambodia. Can you guess it? Angkor Wat. Yes. So, first of all, you have to go to Peru. Peru has to be next on your list for places you travel to. It is one of my favorite countries on earth, if not my favorite country. It's one of the few places that you can see some of the most amazing sights you'll ever see. You go from Machu Picchu to the Sacred Valley, which has a plethora of random gorgeous sights that only Peru has. And then you can go to the jungle, literally the Amazon jungle, and just stay there for a few nights and see crocodiles, river otters, pink dolphins, tarantulas, just anything and everything in this jungle that you would think would come along with an experience in the Amazon jungle. Maybe get lucky and you see an anaconda just slithering along the banks. Not near lodging, of course, hopefully. But now back to Machu Picchu and how to get there, how to do it. Real quick, if you go to Peru, you must stay at least 2 weeks. I wouldn't go there unless you had a full 2 weeks. If you're traveling, from North America and it's your vacation sort of thing, I would spend at least 7 days in Cusco, which is the gateway to Machu Picchu and the Sacred Valley. So overall in that whole region, I would do 7 to 10 days. So you could spend 3 or 4 days in Cusco, which is one of my favorite cities on earth. It's absolutely out of a storybook. It's so beautiful. It's unique. There's hikes within Cusco itself. The food's outrageous. There's a ton of other kind of historical places to see, and just experiencing the life there. It's really pretty. San Blas is a nice little neighborhood there. Coffee shops, eateries. It's just stunning. So spend for sure 3 to 5 days there. And then the Sacred Valley, you'd want to spend 2 to 4 days there. So much to see. And then, of course, Machu Picchu. Machu Picchu you do in a 2-day trek or a 5-day trek, which I also recommend making even the 2-day, make it a 3-day, because you'd want to stay in this town I'm going to tell you about one day longer, because it is just one of the cutest little towns you'll ever visit. So yeah, 7 to 10 days in the Cusco region, which encompasses Sacred Valley, Machu Picchu, and then 3 or 4 days in the Amazon. You'll absolutely want to do that, so you can do all of their treks that your place will offer. The nighttime trek, the river trek, the lake trek, and little other jungle hikes. You'll definitely want at least 3 nights there to do all of that. And then, you fly into Lima more than likely, so you'll probably need to stay a day there and a day on the front end and the back end, unless you can get a flight right to Cusco, then great. There's, of course, so much more to see in Peru. There's incredible amount of gorgeous things to see. But if you only have 2 weeks, those are kind of the main ones you want to hit. And yeah, but let's dive into Machu Picchu. There's 2 ways to do it: hike or just train right up to Machu Picchu. I highly advise you hike. Unless you are not able-bodied whatsoever, you'll be able to do the 1-day hike. It's a overnight hike. They call it an overnight trek, but you only hike the first day, and then the next day is just you get bussed up to Machu Picchu, bus down, and you're on a train, and that's it. However, I'll get into it. As I mentioned, make it a 3-day if you have the time. And then train. Did I say that already? You can just train up to it, which anyone can do. You can buy tickets yourself on the train. You can buy tickets yourself via Machu Picchu. If you want to hike, and as mentioned, I really say you need to do the hike. It is one of the coolest things you'll ever do. The Inca Trail is world famous, so much history. Your guide will tell you a ton about this miraculous place. There's a bunch of ruins on the Inca Trail on the way to Machu Picchu, which are stunning. Just they'd be cool enough in their own right, even without Machu Picchu. So really, if you can do the 2-day hike, as mentioned, it's only one day. You can pull it off. So if you want to hike, maybe train. We'll start with train. You want to train, simple, easy. You need to get to, I always say it wrong, Alante Tambo, which is where you start with a train. You get there via taxi, via shuttle, a driver, however you want to get there. It's in the Sacred Valley, and that's where the train starts. And then you just get a train ticket. Ideally, get a train ticket in advance. I'm pretty sure the train won't sell out. You just may be in a line for a long time. Take the train up to Machu Picchu and or up to the town Aguas Calientes. From there, you can stay in a vast variety of hotels. So you'll stay in the hotel and then go to Machu Picchu. I guess you could do Machu Picchu in a day if you wanted. If you left really early, got on the train, if you had an afternoon or midday Machu Picchu ticket, you ripped through Machu Picchu in a few hours, then got the train and you left. Don't do that. You can do it. Don't do it. Spend a day in Aguas Calientes, like a full day. It's it's a little mountain town. You would think you're in the Swiss Alps. There's a couple different rivers just streaming through it, water falling, cascading down. A bunch of restaurants along a couple of the rivers. There, like the name says, are hot springs. So you can go in the hot springs. It's just a trip back in time. I wish I knew about it more when I went, because I went and when I was done the hike, you get back, you go right to sleep. Like eat a little bit of food, sleep, wake up, go to Machu Picchu, and then you're on a train back to the Sacred Valley. So if you can, book an extra day in Aguas Calientes just to kind of walk around, not be a zombie, and actually get to see it's a tiny little town, but you're just so tired via hiking that, yeah, you don't have much time to do it. So that's how you train. Before you do anything, I should have said this from the jump, before you even book your Peru trip, I would say book your Machu Picchu tickets. Get those first. Because of course, if you pay all this money to go to Peru and you can't hike Machu Picchu, kind of defeats a bit of the purpose for why you went. So of course, check during high season. Tickets sell out well in advance. Same thing with the trails. The guides who take you up the Inca Trail. So I told you how to train. Simple, easy. If you want to hike, there are a few different options. So you have to have a guide for the main options. I'll tell you a way to do it without a guide, but you can't go on the Inca Trail, and it's much harder. So the Inca Trail, I kind of alluded, there's the 2-day trek and the 5-day trek. The 4-night, 5-day trek, you just hike. You hike a ton. It is 45 kilometers, and you go up over 4,000 meters in elevation for the 4-night, 5-day trek. And yeah, if you don't have a lot of time, and if you're not a big outdoors person, I love the outdoors a ton. 4 nights camping and hiking, I don't know. When you've already traveled a lot, that just doesn't seem that appealing. If you have a ton of time, then of course, go for it. But the 1 night, 2-day trek, you see 80, 90% of the exact same stuff in terms of what is truly the gorgeous view or the gorgeous ruins, like the Winewaina ruins. Everyone sees those and some other ruins along the way on the 2-day trek. So you're not really missing out a ton. And of course, it's not as hard. You're not sleeping in a campsite on the side of a hill with not really great shower conditions. The weather changes. It goes from hot 1 second to cold and rainy the next. Not to put you off. Of course, if you're adventurous and you have time, do the 4-night trek. But anyone can do the 2-dayer. It's 13 kilometers, which I forget. Is that like 8 miles? Whatever it is. And you go 3,000 meters in elevation. Unless you just have really bad bodily issues and you can't do it, most people can do it who hike a little bit. They stop a ton. I was in a group with a family and a newly pregnant woman. She was like 3 or 4 months. She was very well in shape. So she knocked that out. And the family, the parents are older, the kids were late teens. They got tired, of course, the parents did, but we stop, we take a break. Simple. So most everyone can do it who is moderately active. And yeah, you just have to do it. And you just hike the first day, as I mentioned. So you hike the first day, see all the awesome ruins. You also get a vantage point of Machu Picchu for the great picture, if you want, the first day. And then you go hike, bus down to Aguascalientes, spend the night there. And then the next morning, your guide takes you up to Machu Picchu, see that for a few hours, and then you're back on Aguascalientes and you're down. The other way to hike it is the Salcante Trail, which you can do by yourself. No guide necessary. You have to have a guide for the Inca Trail. It's just, they're the only ones who can get permits, and there's a permit station to go on the Inca Trail. So you cannot do it without a guide. A permitted guide that you have to buy passes in advance. So for sure, as mentioned, buy this stuff way in advance. So the Salcante Trail you can do by yourself. It's a 4-night, 5-day trek, 55 kilometers. You got, I think, over 5,000 meters in elevation. And it can be a tough one. What's really cool about that is you don't have to pack all of your own camping gear, because along the way there's just towns where you can actually do campsites and rent camp gear at the campsites. There are homestays, so you can stay with people in their home. It's definitely something you really want to plan out in advance. In terms of food, all these towns, you'll never miss a meal, like whether you stop in the town and eat breakfast and then pack a lunch and dinner, vice versa, or you get 2 towns in a day. Really simple to eat. You don't have to pack a ton of food or anything like that, or worry about packing all your tent and stuff from wherever you're coming from. And then there's a bunch of other things that you can do, like Humante Lake is along the way. So you can just drop off your bags and go for a little hike there. If you have the time and you're a big adventurer, also a good outdoors person, try that out, because it seems like a once in a lifetime thing to do. So amazing. The best time to go, don't go in January or February. Those are the wettest months. And in fact, February is actually closed down. So they don't even allow anyone on the Inca Trail in February to do that. And the best is May to September, when it's the driest. So try that out. It's also the busiest, but that's when you want to go, May, September. Especially, the views are so pretty on the Inca Trail. It'd be a shame if you went during the wetter months and maybe it was just kind of rainy and dreary and didn't get those gorgeous blue sky views, or even just moderately cloudy views. Tips. So tips, Huayna Picchu is the peaks that you see in Machu Picchu. I think I'm saying that correctly, that those are what both peaks are called. And so you actually get to climb those, or you get to climb the main one, which, as you can imagine, incredible. That they only allow so many people per day to do that. So you will want to buy those passes well in advance. Again, so I would buy those right when you buy your Machu Picchu tickets, which you get on their site. Or, of course, you go through a guide, and the guide will hopefully be able to hook you up with all of that. Dress in layers. 1 second, it's really hot. You're in a t-shirt and shorts. The next day, the next minute, you're putting on a rain jacket, or it's cold. Actually, really try not to wear shorts, because the bugs are outrageous. I just had my ankles barely showing, and I think I had 10 bites that night, and itchy as all heck. I wore like running leggings and shorts over top of those, and then just a t-shirt, and then I put on the rain jacket when it rained, or if I got cold, put on a hoodie, whatever I needed. So dress in layers, pack layers. You'll want to spend a few days in Cusco before you do Machu Picchu, just because of the elevation, to get used to it. Cusco itself is higher than Machu Picchu, and the elevation is no joke. I don't really get elevation sickness, thankfully, knock on wood, but walking a flight of steps in Cusco the day you arrive, you think you just climbed a mountain. It's rough. So take your time before going to Machu Picchu. Everyone advises, every guide says go to Cusco first, get acclimated to the elevation. And like I said, you need to spend at least a few days in Cusco alone, anyways, because it's such a cool town. Try to get to Machu Picchu early. My guide, I went with Alpaca Expeditions. They're great, really affordable. They give you a camp option, which you can stay in a campsite, or you can pay a little more and stay in a hotel. My hotel had like its own little jacuzzi, a nice bed, a decent-ish view. It was super cheap. And that's another reason to go to Peru, by the way. Peru is so cheap. Like we're talking half the price of Mexico, a quarter the price of the US, Canada, and Europe. It is ridiculously cheap. So I love it because you can just live like royalty on nothing. The nicest dinners, and even the worst dinners, like street food, is so cheap. It's just immaculate. You have to go. I love Peru so much. But yeah, so Alpaca Expeditions, they had us up there. We were the first groups, which is great because as you can imagine, I mean, think of Disneyland. Obviously, being there first with less people is better than the zoo midday. Even by 8, 9 o'clock, the what do you call it? The lines were just enormous. So get there early, and then you also have less people in your pictures as you're kind of going through yourself, which is really great as well. Bug spray, as mentioned, the bugs are ridiculous. And bring your passport. Everywhere you have to show your passport for some reason. So like the Inca Trail entrance, the train, and Machu Picchu itself, you have to show your passport. And I think it has to be, I'm 95% sure it has to be the physical passport, not like a picture. So check into that, of course, but I'm pretty sure that's still the rule. And as I mentioned multiple times, stay in Aguas Calientes an extra day if you have the time, and then train down. It's just so awesome. And use that. It's super small, but if you do the Inca Trail trek, you don't get to your hotel until 5, 6 p.m. at night. Quickly can kind of look around, even 4 o'clock. Quickly look around, grab some food, and then you're just exhausted. Like I think I looked around for an hour, 2 hours, and went right to sleep. But yeah, you have to go. It's one of the greatest places on earth. You can even argue it is the greatest place on earth, especially for adventure hounds. I love Peru. I've got other podcasts about Peru and more to come. This is Inspired Travel Elite, Fraser Laveay, the greatest travel podcast in the universe, possibly. Have a great time. Check out the website if you have any more questions, and enjoy your trip.